Hello and welcome to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Blair, we're back for the special European football show, but before we get into the football, tell us who you're wearing today.
Yep, Adam, it's good to be back. Obviously with our regular segment, we start off with what we're wearing. Bit of a controversial one. This is a Manchester City shirt from 2003.
Before the money.
Pre-takeover when it was cool to be a Manchester City fan. I just like to put that on record. I liked Man City before they were taken over.
I'll take your word for it.
But yeah, 2003 away top, before they even had a sniff of Champions League football, and the viewers can't see it, but it does have Robbie Fowler on the back, which although he might not have had the best stint at Man City, I thought he was a great striker. What about yourself? What you got on today?
Yeah, wearing the 2017-2018 Lyon shirt, away shirt. That is fantastic little number. This it was actually one of those, do you know, the mystery boxes.
Oh yeah,
I haven't. I'm not as much of a football hipster as yourself to actually go into Vinted and look one out for myself. But no, lovely kit.
I think those mystery boxes are always a bit of a stab in the dark. You might get a really nice number like that. You might get something from the Swiss third division that no one's ever heard of.
I
suppose that's the fun of it. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of it. Absolutely. It's been a great week for Champions League football. So let's take a look at the results, beginning with the early fixtures on Tuesday. 3-2 win for Braga over Union Berlin. What a game that was. 2-0 victory for Real Sociedad over Red Bull Salzburg. Copenhagen went 1-0 up against Bayern Munich, but they came back for the favourites to win that one. Inter Milan defeating Benfica by 1-0. A defeat for Manchester United again. 3-2 to Galatasaray at Old Trafford. And then my favourite game of this week, Napoli 2, Real Madrid 3. Another Bellingham masterclass. 2-2 between PSV Eindhoven and Sevilla. And then perhaps the shock of the week, Lens beating Arsenal 2-1. But Blair, what about Wednesday's results?
Yep, on Wednesday, a couple of great games in the early games. Royal Antwerp 2, Shakhtar Donetsk 3. The lesser spotted Tobar Alderweireld, formerly of Tottenham, missing a penalty in the 96th minute in that one for the equaliser. Atletico Madrid 3, Feyenoord 2 in Celtic's group. We'll get on to talk about that a little bit later on. Borussia Dortmund drawing 0-0 with AC Milan. Celtic, of course, losing 2-1 at home to Lazio after that last gasp Pedro goal. Red Star Belgrade 2, Young Boys 2, FC Porto 0, Barcelona 1. Barcelona with a narrow win there in Portugal. An extraordinary result at St James's Park. Newcastle 4, Paris Saint-Germain 1. I know we'll dissect that in due course, but just an incredible night at St James's. And RB Leipzig 1, Man City 3.
Yeah, Blair, let's start at home in the match with these two shirts behind us. Yep. Celtic versus Lazio at Celtic Park. Celtic thought they'd won it, but it wasn't to be.
I think they count themselves unlucky not to get something from it. I think that's just football sometimes, you know. I thought they played well. I thought in spells they looked like a decent side, and I think everybody thought they had won it when Luis Palma scored in the 80th minute. I was talking to some of the photographers that were there the other night. One of the guys absolutely heartbroken. He said he'd shot the shot of the season, snapped the shot of the season.
Is that what he's holding the shirt?
When he's holding the shirt, he's celebrating. He's giving it full barrels, going for it. Only for 10 seconds later, VAR steps in, and I think Dyson Mada gets a touch to it and it gets ruled out, and that's just the way it goes. It's good to see Kyogo getting off the mark in the Champions League, finally breaking that duct and getting off the mark, but it does leave Celtic in a bit of a tricky situation now. 0 points from 2 games. I mean, Brendan Rodgers has come out after it and said the signs will learn from that, and his side will take from that and move forward, but they've got a double header against Atletico Madrid, and that looks pretty daunting to say the least. Yeah,
I'm worried for Celtic now. As you said, double header against Atletico Madrid. In these groups, I think you have to win the home games.
Yep.
And as Rodgers said himself yesterday, if you can't win, don't get beat. Last night, heartbreak for Celtic fans. I think any hopes of them now getting into the last 16 of the Champions League are probably over. Not officially, but it looks really like a slim chance. They'll turn their focus to try and finish in that third spot, which at the start of the group would have been positive. And if they are to get that, then that absolutely would be a great result. They need something in this double header against Atletico Madrid. Yep. But let's go to something a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
Newcastle versus PSG. What a game. Good to see the UK teams doing well. And Newcastle, who we backed on the last show to do it.
Yep. We did say that Newcastle, we thought they would get out the group. We thought they would do well. But I don't know about you. I didn't see this coming. I didn't
not at all.
Paris Saint-Germain turning up to St James's Park and basically getting rolled over. When the goals started flying in, and that crowd at St James's Park, it can do magical things. But the PSG players did not look like they wanted to be there. And I mean, the way they set up, It was attacking to say the least, okay? Like they started off with Kylian Mbappe, Gonçalo Ramos, Ousmane Dembele, Randall Kolo Muani, as a front four,
Yeah,
almost.
4-2-4.
Effectively 4 centre forwards. And I mean, Ugarte and Zaire Emery, a young guy that's come into the team, Ugarte, quite a seasoned central defender. It's a solid midfield partnership, but you've got nothing in the midfield there, and I think that's where Newcastle got a lot of their joy. They just seen such a disconnect between the 4 forwards and the midfield, and they thought, let's just work in this space, and also with the crowd behind them. I mean, you see what happened.
Yeah, Zaire Emery actually I thought had a really good game for 17 years old. Not helped out by his teammates. We'll go on to Kylian Mbappe in a minute because I want to talk about him, but let's speak about Newcastle. And for all of the shortcomings of Paris Saint-Germain last night, I thought Newcastle got it absolutely spot on. Particularly pleased for Dan Burn and for Sean Longstaff. You know, that's two Geordie boys. Yeah. That are living the dream, Blair.
I know Dan Burn's a great character. I mean, every time you see him bringing out his dance moves, and even Sean Longstaff, he just seems like such a grounded guy. And for them to score, imagine that feeling. You're a fan of that team. You've just scored against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League at your home ground. It must be absolutely incredible. But let's not make too much of a fairy tale about it. It's a expensively put together side, and the Premier League players, you see teams in England now, they all should be competing at the top level, you know, the amount of money they're spending on their teams, and I thought it was a great result.
Yeah, I do take that point. However, if you look at the goal scorers last night, Almiron, Dan Burn, Longstaff and Fabian Schär, I believe Dan Burn was the only one not at the club before the takeover.
Yep.
So I think the rest of them were all at the club before that. I know Newcastle were missing a lot of boys. So take nothing away from that achievement. That I believe for how great Newcastle are, their team was not as strong as Paris Saint-Germain and should not be beating them 4-1. So
and the Fabian Schär goal. I mean, I know he's fallen, but to round it off with that is absolutely incredible. He's going down, and you just see the ball sailing into the top corner, and it's just icing on the cake for a performance like that.
Yeah, they done well. A win for Manchester City as well, but the other two English teams didn't get on so well. Manchester United losing to Galatasaray, and Lens somehow managing to beat Arsenal as well.
I think Lens, they've been a team that we've not seen often in the Champions League this year, but pulling out a result like that, it was incredible. And also, I think a theme of this week in the Champions League, some unbelievable goals. Yeah. I mean, that first Lens goal from Thomason, it's delicious the way he's just curled that ball into the far corner, and then even the LAYE goal to win it, unbelievable. I
like Bruma's from the Braga game.
Yeah,
that was an absolute belter.
I think this could have a goal of the month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alone, between Bruma, Schär, the two Lens goals, all pretty incredible.
Yeah, so let's cut our chat on this game and let's hear from an expert. We caught up earlier with Jordan Campbell from The Athletic, who covers Arsenal for that site, to talk about the match last night. Great to have Jordan Campbell from The Athletic with us today to discuss all things Arsenal. Jordan, a disappointing result for Arsenal midweek this week in Europe. What's the reaction been like in North London to that loss to Lens?
It's probably not what they were wanting going into such a big game in the league against Man City. But, you know, it's been a solid start to the season. They're still bedding in 3 or 4 new players. And up until midweek, had been unbeaten. So I think it's been a strong start, and I don't see, you know, a blip during the week, you know, causing them to go off track.
Is the signing of David Raya unsettled the club in any way? Obviously, Aaron Ramsdale was primary number 1 last year, and Raya's coming in, and it doesn't look like he wants to sit on the bench.
No, I don't think either of them want to sit on the bench, so I think eventually something will have to give. You know, Mikel Arteta's stance has been ever since he came in that, you know, I can have 2 number 1s, and that, well, I might be reinventing the wheel in terms of how we view goalkeepers, but let's be honest, it's only ever really happened once, and that was with Ter Stegen and Bravo at Barcelona, and that only worked because they won the treble. One got the Champions League, one got the La Liga. So far, it's not really looked like that since David Raya's come in. It's quite clear that he is his number 1. And yeah, obviously Ramsdale's helped the club get into the Champions League over the last couple of years when they've been building. So it's a big blow to him, especially with the Euros coming up next summer. He would want to push Jordan Pickford, and that's not going to happen if he's not playing. So yeah, I don't think he's going to be too happy that he's been pushed onto the side.
Jordan, just finally on Arsenal, you're obviously in and around the club. You get the feeling of the fans. Can Arsenal win the Champions League? Is that what they're pushing towards? What is the realistic ambitions for Mikel Arteta this year?
Well, you know, I'm sure they would take one. If they could take one trophy, the Premier League or the Champions League, I'm not sure which one they would pick, to be honest, because it's been 20 years since they won the league and they came so close last year. But you look at the Champions League and you think there are not that many teams there who should be stronger than Arsenal. Premier League's, the last couple of years especially, has really, solidified itself as the strongest league in Europe. So I think if they can get past the group stages, I think they'll really fancy themselves, because apart from Man City, Real will always be a threat. I don't see too many teams that are as well rounded and have strength in every department, the same as Arsenal. Again, the one thing you maybe have concern about is, do they have that killer up front? Gabby Jesus is a great player, but I don't think he's an absolute killer who's going to score 20, 30 goals in the league. But his Champions League record is brilliant, to be fair. He's got 1 and 2 for his time at City and Arsenal. So I think they've got all the ingredients to go really far. But I guess the question is, can they do it on both fronts? Can they go for the Premier League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Champions League, the way that City and Liverpool have done over the last couple of years? And that'll be the test of how good the recruitment was in the summer, whether they've got that depth now.
Yeah, great to hear from Jordan there, doing fantastic work for the Athletic. Blair, shock result. Lens fans will be absolutely delighted. Great to see them back in top European competition, because they aren't always there.
Yep, some excellent insight there from Jordan. I think he was obviously talking about David Raya and the Arsenal goal situation, but he said quite importantly that Lens are a good team, and I think that's something that's really been brought to the fore over the last sort of year. This summer they made one of the signings in the summer for me, signing Eli Wahi from Montpellier, who he was a guy that was in demand. This is a young forward who went for £35 million, and there was teams in the Premier League looking at him, teams higher end in France. PSG were looking at him before they signed Kolo Muani. And for Lens to pull off a signing like that was a real statement of intent, we're going to have a go at Europe this year. And I think a lot of people were worried for Lens last year, because Seko Fofana was really their key man last year in the middle of the park. He drove them on up the league, and he was the real force behind a lot of the results last year. He got a big money offer from Saudi Arabia, went to Al Nassr, joined Cristiano Ronaldo, which so many players did this year. And I think a few people were worried, is that the spark gone from that team? But I think, proved the other night, absolutely incredible. And like you said, it's good to see them back. It's been 20 years since Lens have been in the Champions League, and it's quite interesting. I was looking back this week at the 2003 Lens team, and some really household names in there that you would look back on, real icons of the game: Rigobert Song, Papa Bouba Diop, Seydou Keita, John Utaka, Antoine Sibierski. Sibierski played for Man City and Newcastle, of course, in the Premier League. And players that may not have went on to have massive careers, but you see in the grounding of that team guys who went on and had solid, steady careers, popped up all over Europe, and I think that might happen with this team as well.
This is your dream, isn't it? To talk about all of these obscure players from 20 years ago playing.
Yeah, why do we think we're doing this show? I just want to highlight iconic figures from years gone by that may not have got the limelight they deserved at the time. A pre-social media age, these guys just faded off into insignificance. I'm bringing them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's talk about some names, specifically nicknames.
Yep.
We're going to end this show by talking about some of the best footballing nicknames. Blair, I believe you've compiled a little list for us. So
yes.
Let's hear the first one.
This popped into my head this week when I seen Cedric Itten score for Young Boys, formerly of Rangers Parish, and I remember at the time when he was playing at Ibrox and scoring, usually against Motherwell, I believe.
Every time.
Someone coined the name Atomic Itten as in reference to the famous girl band of the early 2000s. I don't think that caught on, but I'll tell you a few nicknames that I did enjoy that over the years. Start off, Ray Parlour, known as the Romford Pele. I mean, that's something he's still dining out on these days.
It's still his Twitter name, isn't it?
Yeah. He's still very much living on that, and I think you see a lot of variations on that. A lot of people taking that formula and giving it to other
I was
people.
once called the Denny Pele.
Yep. the less said about that, the better. I don't think there was much competition, to be honest, but there we are. A few of my favourites: Alexandra Pato, a wonder kid at AC Milan. Went to Chelsea, maybe didn't work out for him. He was known as the Duck, his literal translation to his name, which I always thought that's an interesting one for me. Javi Hernandez, Chicharito, which he used to actually wear on the back of his Man United shirt, translated literally to Little P. Yeah. And this was actually taken from his dad, who was known as the P because of his massive green eyes, apparently. So, I
didn't actually know that, but I knew that.
He's taken that on from his dad.
Little P.
A few more favourites of mine. Vincenzo Montella. So he was again, a little bit before your time. He was very prolific forward in the 90s for Sampdoria, for Roma, and he was known as a little aeroplane. That is not a children's cartoon programme. It is in fact reference to his celebration where he used to stick his arms out and do that after scoring. A couple of my favourites, Cesar Azpilicueta. Great career, a stalwart at Chelsea, been captain for many years. He turned up to the first day of training, so the story goes. John Terry seen him second name and said, I'm going to call you Dave.
That is
since then,
it's the most John Terry thing, isn't it? Stereotypical English centre-half, Dave.
And since that, it stuck to. And you know what? Maybe it helped his performances because he went on to have a long and storied career with Chelsea. But I've said my favourite till last, and forgive me, he's not a Champions League player, but I just couldn't resist putting in here. Former Crystal Palace defender Fitz Hall, who was known as One Size Fitz Hall. And I think
that's the best one. That's
a quite incredible way to end this week's show.
Absolutely, yeah. Blair, great to hear some fantastic nicknames. Do let us know if there's anyone we've perhaps missed from this list. I'm sure that the audience will be keen to let us know in the comment section down below and remind us of many we've missed. Fitz Hall, absolutely the best for me.
If you've got any better, send them in.
Absolutely, that's all from us today. We'll be back with the next European special show on the 26th of October. We hope you can join us.